Hello and welcome to another build guide. So today I want to show you my Vindictive Slam Huntress. And you're probably wondering why I'm playing the Huntress on this character, and simply because of Arrow Shot and the ability that we get from Sharpshooter. So the Sharpshooter grants you this movement ability, and there's like a note in the tree that says an arrow shot is triggered whenever you cast Tumble, and then another one when you land. When this happens, you essentially cast twice, and that means you have um, like way more chance to proc Vindictive Slams on this weapon right here. So for example, when I use Tumble, I shoot a bunch of projectiles all over the screen, and that deals quite a lot of damage with Vindictive Slam. And you're probably wondering, what is Vindictive Slam? Vindictive Slam is something you have on this weapon right here. So you have a chance equal to your life to trigger Vindictive Slam. So I have scaled quite a lot of life on this character, but it's kind of complicated because you would probably think, why is it worth scaling this much life on a character just to make a trigger ability proc more often? There's actually something we get out of this, and that is a lot of flat elemental damage scaling from our life. And I will go over that soon enough. Other than that, the Vindictive Slam weapon grants a lot of flat elemental damage scaling, like base damage per level of the Reaper. So we gain like 700% base damage, I think, a bit over that. So as you can see, the flat elemental damage is quite big, and we can scale that with crit damage and damage against elites. So that's what we are gonna do on this character. And another thing is the Vindictive Slam has a chance to stun enemies equal to the sum of your melee damage reduction, projectile, and area damage reduction. So you can essentially stun everything in the game except for bosses, and like perma-stun them if you have a high enough like damage reduction, pretty much. So you get rewarded for scaling damage reduction. So you get like, it's kind of like double dipping. You get uh, first off the damage reduction, and then you get the stun. So that's very powerful. Something I will let you know is that I will not recommend using the primordial version, and here's why. So when you use the primordial version, you use, you create a bunch of area of effect on the ground, and that area of effect stacks infinitely, no matter how many enemies you hit. So at some point it's just going to lag out your game a lot, and it's just not fun to play with. Even though it grants you the primordial benediction that grants Reaper damage added to elemental damage instead of skill damage, you would think that's a very huge buff, and yes it is, but it's just unbearable to play with. So the only way to fix that is by using this amulet right here. That means your Reaper damage is added to elemental damage instead of skill damage. It's pretty much the same stat, but without the lags. So yeah, this is pretty much. It's not mandatory, but if you want a pretty big chunk of damage, this one is the way to go. Like if I take this off, you can see that I lose quite a bit of damage. So yeah, this one is very powerful. So our choice of Ultimatum, I'm just gonna show this right now because it actually benefits our character quite a lot because of the damage reduction scaling. So we went with this one with profound dips. So this is just a bit of area damage reduction, and we get stun chance out of that, and I think that's pretty much the best thing you can do. I was quite lazy, so I didn't level this up. I didn't want to farm for it in the Slum Temple, so if you want to min-max it, go for it. And it's quite strong as well. You can get this up to, if I remember correctly, close to 50%, if not over 50% area damage reduction, and that's very, very powerful. So definitely look out for that if you want to play this character. So I talked about life scaling is actually pretty great on this character because it grants us elemental damage, and that is from the Ancestral Tree. And it's this node right here. So this node means that you can scale life and get rewarded with damage in return. So that's why we are going for the 100% proc chance on Vindictive Slam. So every single projectile hit or whatever on your primary and secondary skill will always proc Vindictive Slam. So this one is very powerful, and we actually get this one as well, elemental reward. So I actually played all the other masteries, so that means I get a lot of elemental damage out of it. So as you can see, Mistwalker is 14, and the Architect of Death is 13. I'm not sure how much this is leveled up. Let me see. It's definitely above 14, I guess. I mean 13. So yeah, it's quite big. Whoops. Sorry about that. We also get this one, which is kind of nice. It's just a bit more elemental damage and percentage elemental damage. We also get this one, and we can proc this if we want a bit more crit damage, so that's not a bad trade either. So everything that we get in the Ancestral Tree is actually quite big in terms of damage scaling. So yeah, definitely a good option here. I will say, like, I feel like I have to go over this right now, and that is the downside of the build. So you would guess having so much speed and damage is good, but this character has the same downside as my Inner Fire Knight with concentration, and that is you cannot leech. You have no way to leech on this character except for like life on hit is the only option you have, and life regeneration. I have a teeny tiny bit of life gain on hit, but it is almost not noticeable because we have such a huge health pool. So it takes so long to actually like recover our life back. So yeah. And another thing is that, as you can see in my on my character, I have every slot equipped with legendary items. Yeah, that means it's a high investment character, so it's not something you can like start out with. Like it's more like a later on character if you have a lot of legendaries spared up. Otherwise, I cannot recommend this character. But yeah, other than that, Leech is a problem and high investment. And yeah, the defense is not that great either. But it's quite fast. So if you, let's say, if you farm Wrath 7, it will be very comfortable. That's where you just one-shot everything on your path, and it will feel really nice. So you can very well like speed farm that level. You can also quote unquote speed farm Rev 10, but sometimes if you like, let's say, trigger a what is it called, a catalysm breach, sometimes you will absolutely get melted by some of the mods, like especially the undeath effects or something like that. So look out for that. Let's have a look at the Ancestral Tree. There's a reason why we are having full legendary sets, and that is because of this bravery stat right here. So every legendary equipment you have equipped, you gain 10% increased elemental damage. So that's very powerful, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pieces of legendary gear. So that means 110% increased elemental damage, and that's quite a lot. So that is pretty much the reason why we are picking this. And another thing is a bit of crit chance. That's very nice. And then I picked this one just to get a teeny tiny bit more of life, and I guess a bit of armor. That doesn't matter. Not even sure if it's necessary. You could probably pick something else if you want to. Like that. That might be better. I don't know. Uh, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe, honestly, this savagery node might actually be better. Let me see. Does it? Yeah, it actually gives a bit of damage because we scale our rebirth damage converted into elemental damage. So that's maybe something you could consider. I don't know. So skills. What are we using? We obviously using the sharpshooter for this character, and the reason why is because we can get a lot of mobility out of our tumble. We get a lot of projectile damage reduction, which scales our chance to stun enemies with Vindictive Slam. We have this one that completely fixes our mana problems. So I cannot really show it right now, but if you are tormented, is that what it's called? Yeah, tormented. And cast another skill, which is tumble. I mean, if you're tormented and you use tumble, you have like 0 mana cost on skills, so that's very nice. So you can like spam skills when that happens, but you be careful when you do that because it kind of can fuck you up, because then you get delighted, and then you have to make this rotation again, where you use mobility skill and your primary constantly. I mean, just do that, and then it will feel good to play. The other thing we picked is this one, where you get traps laid on the ground when you use tumble. This is like, we take booby trap because, wait, is it called booby trap? Wait, what? Okay, I guess. And then, I mean, there's not anything else very good here, so this is the only one we pick. And when enemies trigger a trap, they get stunned as well, so it's a tiny bit of defense. And this is what we use to trigger arrow shot on our tumble. And we pick up this projectile speed because more projectile speed means more hits, because we are using rebound on this character to reflect through the, bounce on the walls to get lucky to hit them again, for example. We also picked this one just to get a bit more damage against elites. This is very important, like stacking a lot of damage to elites is very nice to have, especially because we don't get that much damage on this character. Like, we're one-shotting pretty much every white mob, but elite monsters are actually quite tanky. So getting as much damage to elites is very nice to have. And the last thing that we take in the sharpshooter is Savage Luck, where your critical strike chance is lucky, and as it says right here, lucky values are rolled twice and the best result is kept. So if you have like 50% chance, it will be rolled. Like, if you, let's say, don't crit with your first chance, it will then re-roll it again to see if you have a chance to crit again. So if you have like 50% crit chance. I think it's like close to 75% crit chance. I'm not completely sure. You can pick this one if you have a lot of crit chance. It will be better, I think, to some degree, because more projectiles means more chance to hit more enemies and the same target. But I feel like it needs a lot of investment to be viable. And then you might actually need some increased additional projectiles on gear as well. Okay, so obviously the main ability is Arrow Shot. We use this one, Bouncing Arrow, to get rebound chance at 50%. So you don't have to scale that much on gear, and that is very powerful. Another thing is we get 100% pierce chance for free, so you don't have to scale that either. So you save a lot of gear investment from this point alone. Another thing is this one. You could maybe take something else like this one. This might actually be better, because that means you will hit way more often. I actually think I played with this. Yeah, Ferocious Arrow is probably better because we're not scaling evasion right now. So yeah, pick this one. I think I was testing something earlier, so that's why I was on the Arrow of Illusion. Another thing is that we actually gain more projectiles from the tree itself. So that's very powerful. That means just more projectiles, and projectiles are very powerful. And then we pick this one because there's nothing else. Like this one just refreshes poison duration on enemies, and we don't poison anything, and we don't, like, it's not a poison build. So this one means that your fork chance has a chance to fork again after forking. I mean, this rarely happens. I don't think this has that much of an impact on your gameplay. You could probably unequip this and don't even notice it. And the last thing is Immortal Arrow. This is just a meme. There was nothing else that could support us, I'm pretty sure. So this is what I went with, and what I picked in here is just this one. So Immortal Arrow becomes like a minion that follows you around in a 4 yards radius. I mean, it follows enemies around in a 4-yard radius and deals damage to them. It's kind of a meme. Don't think this is necessary. You can pick whatever else skill you want if there's something that can actually benefit you. Like let's say this one that slows enemies down, for example, if you want that, or armor break or something like that. It's completely up to you. So gear wise, let's go over that. Let's go over the amulet first, because this is one of the more important pieces, as you saw. Like if you take that off, you lose a lot of damage on your character. So this is very important to get going, I would say. And one of the reasons why it's also taking off so much damage is because I lose a lot of life. Because we're scaling damage through life as well. Another thing is the helmet. The helmet is quite good, like the legendary effect. If you can get this is I think it's pretty much mandatory at this point, because it gives you a max life multiplier. And yeah, as you can see, to scale as much life as possible on every piece of gear. Get maybe some additional projectiles on gear as well in the epic stats. The shoulder is what I invested the most into, and that's just because you get additional projectiles with this one. And you scale attack speed, elemental damage, fork chance, if you can get your hands on it. I don't think fork chance is that big of a difference in the end, but it can be quite nice to just clear with. But if you feel like it, you can probably pick something else, like maybe some, let me think, yeah. Actually, crit damage might actually be better here compared to fork chance. This legendary effect is not something that is going to change anything. So what it does is that your critical strikes apply echoes of villainous on enemy hit, and after 2 seconds, echoes of villainous triggers and deals physical damage equal to 23% of the initial damage, and has a chance to reapply again. Like 2 seconds is a really long time in this game, and this effect will pretty much never proc unless it's a elite enemy that is taking a lot of hits from you. And it is such a small like damage increaser. Like you will not notice this legendary effect at all. So yeah, on that, get some attack speed, crit chance, critical damage, damage to elites. This legendary effect, very nice to have if you can get your hands on it, because 20% cooldown recovery is just very nice to have on every character, pretty much. And yeah, attack speed, crit damage, fork chance. If you don't want fork chance, pick something else. Now, here's a cool thing. I thought this legendary effect made you able to stack it twice, but you can't. If you have 2 of these rings, it's not gonna apply to your Ancestral Tree. So in the Ancestral Tree, there's something called Ancestral Gift, and that gets leveled up by 1 if you have one of these rings equipped, but it doesn't stack. So I thought it could, like, I thought it could get these to level 12, but I couldn't. And obviously you cannot over-level this one. That would be pretty powerful if you could just double this. So yeah, just having one of those rings and then another random legendary effect for the other ring would be plenty. So yeah, kind of a meme, huh? Just life scaling and flat life, fork, life on hit if you can get it. Yeah, not much else to say here. The boots, just life, movement speed, more life, damage to elites if you can get that in the epic mods, or rebound chance or something like that, so you can maybe save some mods on other gear pieces, maybe. Um, I think the gear is pretty self-explanatory. And the belt is just movement speed. The legendary effect is not that powerful. I think it's one of the more underwhelming legendary effects in the game, because what it means, like every 5 seconds you restore 5% of your missing health. So that means if you are missing, like, let's say only 100 health, you will only get 5% of that back. It's not like calculating from your whole health pool, it's only like 5% of your missing health. So that's very bad. So if you, yeah, if you're missing 100 life, you only get 5 flat life back, and that's just, it's just so laughable, man. Like, I thought this would scale really well, but it doesn't. Another thing is this cape right here, and we're using this legendary effect just for a bit of magic find and Goldus find. Mostly Goldus find, because we're hitting a lot of enemies. Like, we hit pretty much everything on the screen instantly, and if we have a little bit of chance to get some Goldus out of it, it's quite nice to have. And then the chest piece is quite a fun one. I think it's not mandatory. You could pick whatever else legendary body armor. But I picked this because you can like get a free use on your tumble every 8 seconds, and you get a lot of cooldown recovery on your tumble as well. So our cooldown is quite low, and then you can like get this buff right here, Wings of the Immersal, where you can just use your tumble twice and you just fly, dude. It feels really nice. It's quite fun to have, but it's not necessary. But yeah, other than that, get life on hit if you can get that. I would, like, if you want to if you want to invest heavily into this character, I think you would need a lot of life on hit on every single piece of gear if you want to survive in Rev 10. Because having, let me see, 26 life on hit on a character like this is not enough. I think you should probably go for like, I don't know, maybe 100. I think 100 would probably be very noticeable in a big pack of enemies. But if you only have 26, it's barely noticeable and will not save you that much at all. But yeah, that's pretty much the gear and the character. Vindictive Slam. I'm not sure what to say about this character. It's kind of fun, but then it's not fun as well. It's kind of weird. Like, it's kind of satisfying and it's not satisfying. I don't know what it is. I think after playing so many builds, I feel like I have a standard. Something like with a lot of leech is just better. Like in a game like this, I kind of wish they buffed life on hit and maybe life on kill as well. Maybe make life on kill percentage instead of flat, because flat is just not very good at all. Like just 1% life recovered on kill would be so fucking nice to have in a game like this. But I guess that, I don't know, it's not even powerful compared to leech. Leech will always be better because you can just, if you have like a million damage with 1% leech, you get all your health back instantly. And that's just crazy, right? But yeah, other than that, this character is quite fun, but I'm not sure if I can recommend it. Unless if unless you really like the idea of this character. So yeah, other than that, take care guys and see you in the next video.